Hello and welcome, this is Simracing Corner. Today I'm reviewing the SymProjects Pro Race 2. There is a link in the description if you want to check out the Pro Race 2 on the SymProjects website after you've watched this video. The Pro Race 2 is a device that plugs into your PC via USB. The USB cable provides both power and the data connection. There's also a software component called SymDash that you download and install. We'll take a look at the software later, as it's not only a vital piece of the puzzle that makes the display work with your racing games, it offers a surprising quantity and quality of personalised customization options for what information is piped through the display. I'm sometimes asked whether products I review will work on an Xbox or PlayStation. The answer here is no. The Pro Race 2 is for Windows-based PCs only. The way this works is your racing game is constantly outputting a bunch of real-time telemetry. The SymDash software silently reads this in the background and directs it to the Pro Race 2 display. There is no observable lag and is very light on system resources, so it will not impact your game frame rates. A quick run through the layout. We have a top row of 15 coloured LEDs. These are your shift indicator lights. Once these fill up and flash, you know you've hit the rev limiter. This will aid you to perfectly time your upshifts. Below this, two 6-digit segmented displays sitting on either side of a single-digit module. Of course, the one in the middle is showing the gear. The other two displays are currently showing us speed and revs at this time. However, we can change the displayed telemetry on the fly by pressing the buttons located on either side. In the SymDash software, you can program what's shown. We will take a look at what options you have when we have a closer look at those software settings. It's no more effort than simply ticking checkboxes in a list. Before it swaps over, we're shown what telemetry type is about to come up next. That's a handy feature, so we know exactly what we're actually looking at. Finally, along the bottom are 6 more individual LED lights, grouped in 2 clusters. You may have noticed they are intermittently flashing, and I'll tell you why in a moment. For simple LEDs, they are surprisingly versatile and smart. These LEDs have different states of illumination. The first state is a solidly lit light, and also slow, medium and fast blinking. Each of these individual states can be set to activate on a preset condition, and each LED is separate from each other. So 6 LEDs multiplied by 4 lit states means 24 different outputs. That's too many to keep track of, but in theory that is possible if that's what you really want. For simplicity, I've set them all to do the same thing for this demonstration and testing. So I've set them to flash at different speeds relating to the percentage of braking force I'm applying. If I push beyond 80% of braking on my pedal, the LEDs will flash rapidly, the fastest state. At 70% braking, it will be the medium blink, and at 60% braking, normal blink. I figured this actually could be used as a useful training tool. If you have a tendency of locking your brakes, it provides a visual warning of feedback. I thought that was pretty cool. That's just one example, here's a few more. Trackside flag warnings can turn on different LEDs, low fuel maybe, ABS activation, even low tyre wear, with individual LEDs representing its own tyre. It's quite amazing how much can be done with simple flashing LEDs when you put some thought into it. So yeah, a very clever, considered idea. Let's take it onto the table and have a closer look at the build quality of the Pro Race 2. It's fitted into a tidy 3D printed case here. Consider that an optional extra, as you can buy the Pro Race 2 without the enclosure for £20 less. Yeah, it's an ideal display to build into a DIY custom wheel plate. If you look around the back of the enclosure, we have the micro USB socket for the PC connection, plus several pins. The pins are there for wiring up buttons, switches and encoders, so yes, it's a display and controller board in one package, adding additional value and versatility to the product. In this format, in a standing enclosure, personally I'm not able to think of how I could really make use of those pins for those extra inputs, but having them accessible like this still offers some possibilities. Maybe I can come up with some ideas in the future. A couple of other useful things to know. You do have a choice of this red or black insets frame and either a blue or red gear indicator. You pick these options when you purchase the Pro Race 2 from the SymProjects website. Personally, I do like this combination of the red and the blue, so I can recommend that. Let's take a speedy tour through the Sim Dash software and then we can wrap up this review. The Data tab, here we select the telemetry types to be fed through the left and right displays. Both lists are identical. It's a case of running down those lists and checking the boxes and splitting what you want displayed on either side. Not every racing game will support everything here beyond the usual basics, so it is a case of a bit of trial and error, testing your selection in your particular game to find out what works. Shift lights, well, this one is quite self-explanatory. Just pop into the quick config and set the shift light range and the upshift blink. Setting these to a percentage range rather than the exact RPM numbers is the best option. This means the shift lights will work consistently across all vehicles. Other LEDs is where we configure the bottom row of lights. If I mouse over each one individually, it shows us my current configuration. You can see here they are set as I described earlier in my brake test demonstration. Clicking on one of the LEDs opens the menu for adjusting that individual LED. The LED has 4 states of illumination, something we talked about earlier, and each of these can be set to activate on any number of criteria. It's a surprisingly deep selection of options offered. Maybe pause the video at points to read it off. This is a section you will want to spend a lot of time in, picking out the ones that you find most useful. Props to SymProjects for thinking out of the box and turning simple LEDs into a practical tool. Subjectively, my first impression of the SymProjects Pro Race 2 was it looked similar to other boutique displays of this style of form factor, but once I begun digging into the Sim Dash software, this revealed it's a more advanced finished product over the others because of this amazing piece of software supporting the hardware. Also, the physical buttons on the face of the Pro Race 2 for flipping the display information is a unique feature also. I've now used the Pro Race 2 for a couple of weeks and it's proved to be a solid and reliable performer throughout my testing. I do own other SymProjects hardware, so frankly this was no surprise. They produce good hardware as far as my experiences have been using their products over the past few years. The Pro Race 2 integrates nicely into my sim racing setup. It looks really sleek sitting on the wheelbase. The low profile design means no matter what wheel rim I'm using, my view is never obstructed from the display. Well, that is unless I'm turning the wheel, at which point my attention is focused on navigating the corner and not the display. So I've never found that to be a disadvantage. The price point of the Pro Race 2 is fair. It's built to a good standard, presented well in the fitted enclosure, and don't forget the Sim Dash software is fantastic. That is something that's easily overlooked. It's a big selling point that gives the display substantial versatility. SymProjects release regular Sim Dash software updates, so future support is certain as new games come out. As of this moment, 59 racing titles are supported. That includes all the latest crop of titles and also games going back several years. There is a full list on the SymProjects website if you want to check that out. All in all, an excellent piece of gear. I use a host of external displays on my setup. I find them super useful and I do love how they add to the personalised uniqueness of my sim racing setup. And the SymProjects Pro Race 2 is a welcome addition. It's the latest and a great add-on to my build. It's a fine product, so do check it out. There is a link in the description. And that ends this review for the SymProjects Pro Race 2. If you want to support what I do here, there are various affiliate links in the description. This is not a sponsored channel, so every little helps and it all goes back into making these videos. I post a new video every couple of days, so be sure to check back soon. And until then, happy simming and bye bye.